to another Wednesday edition. We're here, of course, every Wednesday from 8 to 10 p.m. with matters that we think are of some interest and might be of some interest to you. Let me start by apologizing for not being able to make the show last week, Wednesday. We were occupied dealing with other matters, and it wasn't possible for me to get here on time. Those other matters, of course, involved in part the CARICOM Intersessional Heads meeting that occurred in Bastia. And certainly as Minister with responsibility for foreign affairs, I was leading the delegation as our Prime Minister, the Honorable Timothy Harris, was in the chair as chairman of CARICOM for the next 6-month period. So as a consequence, I wasn't able to be here, and I had asked the studio, the radio station here, Von Radio, to replay a tape from the previous week. So I apologize for that. I, of course, always try my best, but it was really late notice and we were not able to get someone at that short notice to fill in. And so I start with that apology. I know that people tune into the show, and I feel a sense of obligation because, of course, many of you have been with me over the years, over the decade plus that we've been here, right in this chair, right in the studio, in this little room here at Von Radio, the Eastern Caribbean's only powerhouse. If you're tuned in, it must mean that you, of course, you're listening to Von Radio, www.vonradio.com or 860 on your AM dial. We're also streaming live on YouTube and on Facebook, and so now you not only can hear me, you can see me. If you don't want to see me, you can hear me, and I hope that if you're seeing me, you don't turn off the volume. So the important thing is to hear, and that is the reason we're here. So we come every Wednesday, and we come with matters that we think are of some interest to you. Now, today's Ash Wednesday. I know a lot of people are at church or have been to church, and of course we are a religious society. We're a Christian society, largely Christian society, I ought to say, because we of course have other religions. But I want to, of course, wish everyone all the best and God's continued blessings on this Ash Wednesday. Considered whether we should have the show tonight, but I thought it was important to come, particularly as I had missed last week's show. Now, we have a number of matters, and let me start with my usual soliloquy, my usual one-person monologue before we get into opening the phones and allowing you, the members of the public, to share your views. Let me start by saying good evening to one and all. Good evening in particular to the people here in Nevis, those in St. Kitts, those in the wider Caribbean who listen routinely. Let me specifically mention the good people in St. Martin, those in Saba and Statia, those who are in Montserrat, because I'm told we have good listenership there every Wednesday, and of course those in the USVI and British Virgin Islands, where we also have excellent listenership and have had that listenership over the years. I want to, of course, extend greetings to all, wherever they are in the Caribbean. Farther afield, I want to, of course, extend greetings to our friends in Canada, people like Jeff Coe, if he's listening. Jeff Coe, good night to you and the family. Good night to all of you in Canada, in Toronto area in particular, but also those in other areas such as Montreal and elsewhere. Good evening to all of you in Ottawa. I know we have our High Commission there, and so our High Commissioner Sherry Truss and others who are there. We say good evening to all of you. Good evening to those, of course, who are in the United States of America, particularly along the eastern seaboard, where I know we have a large listenership, people in Connecticut, in Boston, in New York, up there in New Haven, which is in Connecticut, and of course in Washington, D.C., and the surrounding states, Delaware, and the states that surround Maryland, I think, is also there. So I want to say good evening to all of you. Good evening to those in Florida, those across the country, in places such as California, Seattle, you name it. All across the United States, people listen. Across the pond in the United Kingdom, we also have good listenership. I want to say good evening to people there like Jackie and Moses and the whole group, a lot of them who stay up each night. And how could I forget my good friend Ursula in Atlanta, who has routinely listened to the show with her mom. We, of course, lost her mom some time ago, and we continue to regret her passing. A wonderful, beautiful lady, also called Ursula, but Ursula the younger sometimes listens, and if you're listening, Ursula, good evening to you. Good evening to one and all. It is a good time to be here. We have beautiful weather outside in Nevis. It's a bit dry. We're into the dry season, but nevertheless, it is warm enough, much warmer than where some of our people are. And as we've looked at the news and seen that in the United States, particularly in places like New York, they're having difficulties with snow, We just want to, of course, wish you all the best and continue. As I like to tease you and say, that Nevis is nice and warm. You could be in the ocean or even at the hot springs right now. You could be having a cocktail on the beach, a killer bee, if you will. You could be here with us, and the planes are flying every day. We're asking you to give it a try and to come home. If you can't make it home now during the winter, we're definitely asking you to come home for our second homecoming celebration, which coincides with Culturama 45. It runs from June 26th to, no, I'm sorry, July 26th to August 6th this year. That's what I'm advised. And so we're inviting everybody to come. Have your family reunions. Come, be a part of the family. Come eat some Wilkes, some goat water, some conky, some saltfish and Johnny cakes. Come home and have some sauce and some cook-up. These are all the things that we want. And, of course, we hope that this dry season doesn't affect the mango season. We expect to have a lot of mangoes, a lot of Emery Pollies and long mangoes and round balls and all kind of other mangoes, TV mango, Brazier syrup, you name it. We hope to have everything available. So we are saying to one and all to come home, and of course the good people in St. Kitts to come over to see family and friends as well and be part of our Culturama 45, just as we come to St. Kitts, and will come in our numbers, no doubt, to be part of the music festival this year and be part of White Sands and be part of Carnival during the Christmas season and be part of cricket, which is happening this weekend. The people of Nevis, of course, play their part, and so we're asking the people of St. Kitts equally to come over and be a part of our Culturama festivities. We're really looking forward. The Minister, Honorable Eric Evelyn, has promised that this will be the biggest and best as we celebrate a significant milestone, 45 years of Culturama. And so we're really inviting our people to come from wherever they are, bring friends and family, and let us have a grand time here in Nevis and a grand family reunion as well. That for us would be very significant and very important. The workers at Four Seasons, we continue, of course, to encourage them. We know that there is going to be a break in service that is coming up on 1st of June. I can't stop talking about it because we recognize it will be significant for them and for the island. We are told that some just over 400 workers will be negatively impacted. That is, they will be off work for the temporary period of June, July, August, and September, that 4-month period. The Four Seasons has agreed to make a gratuitous payment monthly of 25% of their base salary, their base weekly salary, based on a 40-hour week, and they'll get therefore a quarter of that salary during the off-season. The good thing is that these will be slow months normally, and a lot of people would say to me that in those slow months they only get 2 days or so per week. So that's the good thing, that they've timed it to coincide with the slow months. Nevertheless, being off work is always traumatic, and so we continue to encourage people to start from now to put a few pennies away, particularly because the Four Seasons continue to report to us that they're experiencing higher than usual occupancy and much higher than usual rates. And so they continue to say that there's an opportunity now for persons to earn a bit more because the service charge is a bit better. And we continue to ask our people to be responsible. If there was some significant purchase that you were hoping to make, a car or something, we're asking, please defer it for a little while. Watch your pennies, save. Even the Bible, as I continue to say to people, says that in times of plenty, we store up the grain for times of famine. I have made a clean breast of it. I have not been the type of leader of our island to try and pretend or obfuscate or hide things. And so as far back as the budget debates in December of last year, I said to our people that this bad news had come, but unlike a hurricane which comes from nowhere, this is news that we can prepare for, and I'm asking people to be prepared. What we as a government are seeking to do is to say that there should be no deductions. We've had conversations with Social Security. We intend not to deduct anything for social services levy or any other deduction, so that the 25% you get, and hopefully you get all of it into your pockets. That is what we intend to do. We also, of course, have initiated discussions already with some of the local banks to say to them that we need some arrangement that for those who have mortgages and have car notes, etc., that are due, that during that 4-month lull, that they will have some relief and will not be foreclosed upon. So we are working with you. We're also, of course, appealing to the private sector to absorb on a part-time basis as many people as they can. The government's capacity to do that is severely circumscribed because, of course, we keep hearing from the IMF and others that already our payroll, our government payroll, is significant. It's significant in terms of the size of the public service. And so our capacity to absorb 400 people is not there. But what we are saying is that those people should be able to be absorbed within the private sector, and those people who cannot be so absorbed, we are hopeful that they can put funds away so that they save a little something to carry them over. Bearing in mind that in October, as we have been advised, the hotel reopens, a grand reopening, and they're telling me that when they open in October, it will be almost a brand new hotel. So how are we trying to address this? One, we're saying that you're earning a bit more now. Occupancy is high, they say up until May, that's what I'm told, and the room rates are high. It therefore means that you can earn a bit more in terms of your service charge on top of your regular salary. We're asking you to save as much as you can. Two, we have said during the construction phase, as many of the people laid off as possible should be given first preference for purposes of rehire during the construction phase. Three, the Four Seasons has agreed to pay 25% of your base salary, and we as a government have agreed there should be no deductions from that 25%. Four, we're speaking to the banks to seek to get a package so that you are not prejudiced and there is no pressure that is placed on you. Five, we are speaking to the private sector to seek to absorb as many people as they can during this period. Six, the government will do its part and absorb what it can, bearing in mind the limitation that I've just outlined in terms of the size of our public service already. Where am I? Six? Lastly, I think that's some good news, and I'll bring some details of that. I'm learning that another group is putting together a fund which will assist workers as well during this period of time. I have had preliminary meetings on that. I do not yet have the precise figure, but once I get that, I will certainly come back and report it to you. I say all that to say that I want the workers at Four Seasons to understand that as a government, we are with you. As a government, we understand the difficulties that you anticipate and that you're likely to face over that 4-month closure. And as a government, we will not abandon you. We will work with you now, and we will work with you during, and we will work with you after. And the goal would be that God sparing our lives and sparing us from any disasters, we should have a brand new hotel that will open in October. And that is what we're all looking forward to. And after that, because I'm told that they already have over 6,000 room nights sold for that period, October, and going into the new year. So once God grants us life, we are prepared, ready, willing, and it is our duty and our honor as servants of the people to work with you to weather this particular storm. And so I do not want any worker at the Four Seasons to be afraid. I don't want them to feel that they're alone in this. I understand that this will be traumatic for all of us, including the government, because we will lose some revenue. But I think this is something that we can get through together. We've gone through closures of the hotel for hurricane, sometimes for indefinite periods of time. And so now that we have a definite period of time, we know when it's going to happen, we know for how long. I think that we can do some good things together. And once I have more information on that additional fund to provide some additional money to you, I will let you know. Ladies and gentlemen, you listen to On the Mark. It is 15:15 the hour of 8 o'clock. A few more items. Today we had a cabinet retreat. I want to thank my cabinet colleagues. This is the second retreat of the new government. And people may ask, why a retreat? Well, really, it's an opportunity for us to go into perhaps an environment which is not the norm. And today we had a retreat at a boardroom at the Four Seasons. And it allows us an opportunity as members in a far more relaxed atmosphere to have discussions about team building, about strengthening our team, about ensuring that we are doing what we need to do to deliver on our mandate that was given to us by the people of Nevis. This government is still a young government. I believe that this month will mark 15 months since we've been in office. And so we are trying to do the best that we can to develop this island, given the constraints that we naturally have, but to push this island forward. And I'm very optimistic. I feel that we're already making some progress. We declared this year as the year of business, the year of economic expansion, the year of job creation. And I believe that we're making progress. We will announce one after the other various private sector initiatives that are happening. The public sector has done its part. The last 3 or 4 years, this government has expended inordinate sums of money in infrastructure and development across the island. I have appealed to the private sector and said to them that we are prepared to partner with them, but it is now time for them to pick up the slack. It is now time for them to do more. And we're asking for them to do more because we feel that they can do more, and we're prepared to incentivize them to do exactly that. Small businesses, we have established CIDU, we have empowered NEPA. We are going to be making some changes there, NEPA being the Nevis Investment Promotion Agency. And what we're saying is that we're having 2 shops. One for small and micro businesses at CIDU, where the professionals there will help you set up, give you advice, provide some small financing, microfinancing, and training. Things like how do you keep proper accounting, how do you use QuickBooks, etc. We're also working with the Nevis Investment Promotion Agency, which we're hoping will deal with the large investments and will become the one-stop shop for foreign investors and local investors dealing with large investments, so that people will go to NEPA and then NEPA will make a recommendation to the cabinet. That is how it functions in St. Kitts, and I think they do an excellent job in St. Kitts, and we're using that as the model that we can implement here. And so you will see some of these changes taking hold. We've been talking about them, you'll see them taking hold. The $5 million fund that we've talked about to fund small and micro businesses with an emphasis on women and also an emphasis on men under the age of 35. Note what I'm saying. Women any age, men under 35. The idea there is to empower women and youth and to make micro loans available to them, again, as seed money at nominal interest in order for them to set up businesses. We hope that that will be launched this year as we promised, and we're speaking to partners to seek to secure that initial, that's the word I'm looking for, $5 million EC fund for that purpose. And so if you wanted to set up a little business, a business that requires you to have some injection at the start, then the idea of that is to give that impetus, that jump start, because we recognize that a lot of women are interested in being in business. A lot of young men are interested in being in business, but they don't have what it takes to go to the banks and get the capital that they need. And so if you need $100,000 to start a business, it is difficult to secure that from the banks. And this is not a knock on the banks, but I keep saying that we have a banking sector which is rich in cash. Most of the banks continue to report that they are very liquid, full of money. But the unleashing of that money into the community, into the economy, we're not seeing as much of that as we would like to see. You go to a bank, the bank wants everything. They want life insurance, they want health insurance, they want property insurance. They want all of these things. And each layer, of course, is a cost to you. And so a lot of people are locked out, no matter how good their idea may be. And so we're saying if we're serious about small and micro businesses, we need to create a fund and a seed capital to get them going. And that is what we're seeking to do. We'll hear more about that, again, once that is set up, and we'll administer that, again, through the CIDU, the Small Enterprise Development Unit. So there are some plans here for economic expansion. Already I feel the proverbial sign that I put up in Nevis, that we are open for business, is yielding some fruits. We've heard a lot of cacophony of sound and fury about the airport and the proposed transaction involving the airport, the proposed lease of some of the facility for us to create there a hub facility to try and increase the traffic. I came here the other night and I spent a long time to make the point that the airport has been in decline for many years. In fact, I had the documentation then which showed a precipitous drop from around about 79,000 passengers passing through that airport in 2006, its heyday, to by 2013 down to 19,000, and by 2018 down to just under 15,000. So the reality is you've seen the normally say meteoric rise. This has been a meteoric decline in passenger arrivals and departures at that airport. And so we were left with a stark choice. Do we have the money to develop it ourselves? The answer was no. Do we close it? Clearly we cannot. Do we continue to hemorrhage money over there and bankrupt NASPA and the NIA? We cannot. And so we sought and found a partner, and we're satisfied that we have developed an agreement that requires them to perform. And if they don't, we are also satisfied that we have the necessary exit clauses that will allow us to exit that and look for another partner. I am not saying that this is cast in stone or this is ensured of success. No venture is. But what I can tell you is that as the Premier of Nevis, and with the cabinet that I have, we will continue to look out for the best interests of Nevisians. You've elected us to lead, and lead we will. You've elected us to take decisions, and take decisions we will. And we will continue to do so in the best interests of the people of Nevis. I'm also pleased, as I reported in my press conference, to say that for the first time since 1996, we have licensed a second international bank to operate in Nevis. And I'm very proud of that development, because that is a development that, of course, took some time. I believe the process took just over 5 months, from application to all the due diligence that had to be done to the recommendation that it be approved. And I'm delighted that I've seen that they started to advertise and say that they're looking for jobs. I know there are a lot of our young people who have come home. Some are degreed, some are looking for something to do, some might be in the public sector, looking to go to the private sector. We encourage you to make the effort. Apply where jobs are available. You know what I like to say about opportunity. When you hear it knocking, you listen. When you hear it knocking, you respond, because I think that that is of critical importance. So that is where we are, and what we continue to do, and what we continue to seek to achieve. And we will in that vein. We have a few other very exciting things that are scheduled, and I will talk about them, and we will continue to interact. You notice the style that we have brought to governance. As Premier of Nevis, I have promised that the Nevis Island Assembly will meet at least once every 2 months, and more often as necessary. We have kept that. And for the past year, I believe you can look at the record and see we have kept that. Indeed, we went to the Parliament on the last day of February, and Mr. Parry, as he is wont to do, criticized and said, why are you coming here? You didn't have any work to do. Well, Parliament is an opportunity also for ministers to report to you. There's an item on the agenda which says statements by ministers. Ministers are allowed to report to you and let you know what's going on. That's an important reason to go to the Parliament. We also laid in the Parliament, for first reading and for commentary, a new trust ordinance. And that is something that has already attracted some attention, and we hope that the service providers will opine and come back and say exactly what they think. At the end of the day, we may go with it, we may amend it, we may seek to do something different. We will be guided, because this process is a consultative process. And I want to say to the service providers, as I said to them when I last met with them, that in this government they have a partner which will work with them. And that is what we intend to do. And so we have been going to the Parliament every month. In the time that we've been in office, time that you gave us the privilege of serving, we have had a press conference. Press conference where members of the press have been able to come and ask their questions, seek clarification on what is going on. I have not always got it right as your Premier, but I can tell you that I have tried during those press conferences to do my best, to be forthright, as I always am, to answer questions in a direct way, and to give the press answers that I hope they feel that their questions have been answered. That is what we're seeking to do. On the good governance agenda, we have operationalized integrity in public life legislation. We have appointed the necessary commissions. We have secured office space, I'm told, above Rams Supermarket. I know that we're in the process of finalizing staff, and I believe that that commission should open its doors very shortly. Last indication I had from my permanent secretary, who has been charged with this very important and critical matter, is that very shortly means very shortly, and I shall be pleased and proud to come back to you and tell you what we have done in that regard. We have passed freedom of information legislation, and while that is not yet operationalized, as I explained in my last press conference, it is not yet operationalized because it calls for information persons, I'm not so sure what an information official, someone who's charged with information in each of the ministries. so that, as I understand the scheme of the legislation, if a member of the media or a member of the public wanted some information from Public Works, there should be an officer in that Ministry of Works who has that responsibility. And so we are in the process now of identifying officers and then sensitizing them. And I've committed to operationalizing that legislation this year, 2019. Ladies and gentlemen, we have been making effort to satisfy the commitments that we made to you. Along the way, there have been detractors, and in any democracy, we should not be upset about that. We should expect that. An opposition is there for a reason, and I'm not going to get upset with us all. However, I'm a politician too. And whenever it is that I see that the opposition is getting past their bounds, it is incumbent upon me and others that support this great party, the Concerned Citizens Movement, to speak up and speak out, and to let the world know and the island know and remind everybody we're relevant of what used to be. You know why? There's often said that there's a tendency for us to forget. And so for me, it is important that we remind people. You see, the Jewish people experienced the Holocaust. And they've never allowed the world to forget what the position is. That has been their reality, and it is important for them to put that out there. It's important for them to continue to remind the world of this atrocity that was done to them as a people. Black people who endured slavery. It's important for us to remind the world. The whole reason why I say it's important to remind, because some people will choose to forget, and some even worse will choose to rewrite history and tell you that which is green is white, that which is red is blue. We must be consistent in what we say. And I say that to say this, because I have not really been very political of late. I'm hopeful if you're fair to me, you would say that I have sought to put myself into a governance mode. And I've always said that the politics will come when it will come. And that comes every 5 years, or in Nevis it looks like every 2.5 years. But that will come when it will come. I have sought to come here week after week and seek to engage with you and debate with you and have ideas and discussions exchanged on matters of importance. And I've not got into the row of the politics. But please don't underestimate me. At the end of the day, I'm still a sheriff, and I still have row in me when necessary. Look like some people feel that I put on a jacket and tie and said I'm the premier and I'm in governance mode, and you feel that that gives you license to get away with saying and doing anything in the name of politics. Remember, I have my files. I've not abandoned them. And so, for example, recently, when I listened to a particular program and I heard the likes of Patrice Nisbet and Roberto Hector, Ilhansville, let me call him by his mother's name that he gave you, seeking to attack me and to say things about me about corruption, I will go on record tonight and say, ladies and gentlemen, that if there's one word that can never be associated with me, is the word corrupt or corruption. You know why? I came to politics for the right reasons. I didn't come to look a car. I didn't come to look a house. I didn't come to look fame nor fortune. I came to serve people. And I came for the right reasons, and that is why you've never heard any mix-up with me. They have sought in every way, shape, and form to attack me since I declared my hand in politics in 2006, the year of our Lord. The NRP has spread every rumor that they could manufacture. And look at me, standing here strong as a lion, good Hebrew boy. You know why? When your heart is pure and you're blessed by God, no weapon formed against you shall prosper. And they've tried everything. So here they go again talking about corruption, conflict of interest. And they go down the road with all this roar, noise and fury, which when examined amounts to nothing, the chaff that the wind bloweth away. But I hear them. And when I heard them, I was reminded of Those sayings that we grew up with, when the pot seeks to call the kettle black. Can the devil correct sin? Those are the sayings taught to us by our parents and grandparents. They still have relevance today because those were wise people. When I heard these gentlemen, honorable as they say they are, seek to attack me, good little boy from Henley Park and Brownhill, who has so far tried to live a life where I don't trouble people. Nobody could ever say, put my hand in any money that don't belong to me. I've worked hard for what I've had. And thank God for the strength and the opportunities that he has provided to me. But when I hear them talk about conflict of interest, I was at a particular place, and as I listened, I said to someone, I said, but Elhansville Hector is a lawyer of recent vintage. Patrice Nisbet is a lawyer of more ancient vintage. Both have been candidates for the Nevis Reformation Party. In 2006, Elhansville Hector was successful at the polls in Nevis and was catapulted into government, a government led by the Honorable Joseph Parry. You all remember that? Patrice Nisbet also contested in that local election, but was again defeated. Patrice Nisbet thereupon became the legal advisor to the Nevis Island administration. Let me take you down memory lane. As legal advisor, he had the responsibility and was paid to advise the government. Minister Hector, as he then was given the portfolio of lands. And as Minister of Agriculture and Lands, he became by statute the chairman of the Nevis Housing and Land Development Corporation. Listen to me, stick with me. He would have appointed his friend, Patrice Nisbet, to be a member of the board of the corporation. And whilst he was chairman of the Nevis Housing and Land Development Corporation, and his friend Patrice, who was legal advisor to the government and failed candidate in that election, was a board member of the Nevis Housing and Land Development Corporation. These two gentlemen decided that the best thing for them to do was to form a law firm. You see, they weren't content with their salary as a minister and as legal advisor. And then their second salary as chairman of the corporation and board member of the corporation. You know, they like to talk about toupe? Yes, their second salary. They weren't satisfied with that. No, they decided we want a third portion. And so they formed a law firm called Oualie Attorneys. O-U-A-L-I-E, that beautiful Carib name for Nevis. Oualie Attorneys. And some may say, well, so what if they formed a law firm? Well, but they formed a law firm which had as its principal client the very corporation, the Nevis Housing and Land Development Corporation. And so I have in my possession a stock of transfers. Hear me carefully. The Nevis Housing and Land Development Corporation is selling land and house to people. That corporation is chaired by the Minister Hector. He appoints his friend and legal advisor to the NIA, Patrice Nisbet, as a board member. And the two of them being lawyers, one of recent vintage and the other of more ancient vintage, together form a firm and called it by the Carib name for Nevis, Oualie. You hear what I tell you? And then when you look at the transfer document, then one thing about them, they will have from to. So you see Nevis Housing and Land Development Corporation to Mr. X. Who signed off on the transfer? Minister Hector as chairman. Who signs off on the transfer? Board member Nisbet as board member. They are signing on behalf of the corporation. And then at the foot or bottom of the document, you see who the law firm in the transaction is, Oualie Attorneys. Ladies and gentlemen, one thing about me, I talk plain because I don't talk without my facts. Yeah, I talk plain. And I want you to consider, because the story can never be allowed to get old, that when people seek to accuse innocent people, people who are seeking to do the right thing and have always done the right thing, conducted themselves in public life in an exemplary fashion, when you look at them and said, well, what is your record? Because sometimes as I listen, I sometimes wonder if folks realize that they have a record, that they're not Johnny-come-latelys to the politics. They have been in politics for a while, and once you're in politics for a while, you have a record. And I will not get into the land to brother and sister and wife and father. No. I won't even get into that. I am speaking here of a factual scenario where a man who now offers himself again to the people of Nevis found himself catapulted into office in Nevis and became Minister of Lands. And as chairman of the corporation, he appointed his friend, failed candidate and legal advisor, to a board member. And the two of them thought it best that to make some more money while we form a law firm. And oh, what a sweet arrangement. Did anybody come up here by the corporation to buy a little piece of land or to get a house? What we do, you see? We make sure that we sign for the corporation, and then we come back and we, as the lawyers, Ouali attorneys. I don't even know why they use the beautiful name of Ouali. They should have used some other name. But you see, maybe they didn't want it to be known, so they didn't call it Hector and Nisbet. No? Ouali attorneys. It was I, your humble servant, who went into the Nevis Island Assembly as an opposition senator, as I then was, and laid bare the scheme to Mr. Parry, who was then Premier, and to the people of Nevis. And I recall I said to Mr. Parry in these words, Mr. Parry, you are an honorable man, and I do not believe that you are aware of what the fellows sitting behind you are doing. And to this day, I still believe he was not aware. He has never said to me he was aware, and to this day, I still believe he was not aware. And that is how the little Ouali attorneys get shut down. You understand? That is how they get shut down. Because when sunlight filters in, the old people say, Rochi, start to run. You understand? Badness don't like light. It likes darkness. And I went into the house. And the reason I could come on radio and on the platform and speak about it is because I have the documents to this day. Don't bother trying to rob my house. They're not there. I have them elsewhere, in a vault under lock and key. You all remember the last election? I had my grip. For young people who don't understand grip, it's a suitcase of old-time vintage. I am simply saying, if you come to the people and you want to say to people to give you another chance, first you must beg pardon. First you must say you're sorry. First you must admit for all the things you did. Tell people that if you get another chance, that you're changed. That you are like Saul, who on the road to Damascus became Paul. And that you've seen the light, and the Lord has spoken to you and to say to change your wicked ways. How else can you come back to people and ask people to give you another chance? This is Ash Wednesday, so I'm not going to get into too deep. Not going to get into too deep because this is Ash Wednesday. I must respect that. But if you all know somebody who know these fellas, tell them I'm the wrong person to jump on. Because I'm feeling froggy nowadays. And when I'm feeling froggy, I'm going to leap. And when I leap, I leave in with facts. I bring in the facts with me. Because these are people who have a record in government and we know what they did. All of self and none of thee. That was their record. So when they come now and they say, Lord, Lord, give me another chance, you should ask them why. Why? To do what you did again? And when you have the temerity and the audacity to point your finger at decent leaders, decent servants. I heard the Honorable Alexis Jeffers make a statement over and over. He said, as Minister of Lands, no member of government, of cabinet, is going to get any lands from the Housing and Land Development Corporation. He said so. He said, if I want land, including Premier Vance and now Premier Brantley, go buy land on the private market. He went further. Consistent with the policies, no family member of anybody up at the corporation, including members of the board, should get any land from the corporation or get any benefit from the corporation in that way. So I tell you, I'm not even going to touch the land, house and land. Leave that. That will come. Because it's important for us to remind people of what was and to say to people that we've not had any repentance. There's been no coming to Jesus moment. No, I am sorry and I have changed. And if a man has shown you who he is and he has not said to you that he has changed, then why should you go back down that road? Because they've shown you. That is why we have a record, and that is why I am saying to my team, we must ensure that our record speaks for us when next we go to the people of Nevis. That is of critical importance in any form of politics. Mine, I was having a good Wednesday today. Good cabinet retreat with my team. I feel very good about the members of my team. We're ironing out any little wrinkle before it could become visible, making sure the team running smooth, together, in unity. And so I'm asking, please, if you know somebody who know these fellas, tell them, I say, that my boots have been polished and put away. I'm not yet ready to put them on. This is not the time. Today is Ash Wednesday. But if they continue to provoke and feel that because I have said that I'm seeking to usher into being a kinder, gentler Nevis, that means that I've lost that streak in me, tell them again, no, so it work, you know. Henley Park me from is Brown Hill me grow. And no soft people come out of Henley Park and Brown Hill. We are considerate people. We are loving and kind people. But no pass your crosses with me, because I will deal with you with the facts, because I have them. And I tell her, you don't say nobody go rob me house because they're not there. Yeah? Don't send nobody to rob my house, they're not there. I have the facts. And I will keep reminding the public of who you are and who the people who come now are. I will keep reminding the public until such time as they come and they say mea culpa and beg for forgiveness. I will keep reminding the public, because Saul, who remains Saul, must be treated as Saul. And until Saul becomes Paul, he cannot enter into the kingdom of heaven, and he cannot enter ever again into government. So, from that to this, let me congratulate our debaters. Our debaters went to Antigua, and they triumphed for the third time in a row. 3-peat, as they call it. That suggests the building of a dynasty. And what I said to someone, which has not been lost on any of us, is that on nearly every occasion that they went, the team was differently constituted. That is significant, because what that is saying is that this is not some one person or 2 people team that you happen to have 1 great or 2 great debaters. I recall back in the day, we had Sherry Truss and Mackie France, and they beat everybody because those were 2 exceptional debaters. Here we've had teams differently constituted. Raul J, Kedgel, Gabriella, my daughter, was there at one point. We now have young Miss Slack. We have others. Can't remember all the names. But each time, and in fact, I was blessed to welcome them, because I was in St. Kitts working when they came back at the RLB, the VIP lounge at RLB, and was really encouraged to hear some of them were debating for the very first time. listen to me carefully, debating for the very first time. And we all know, who have been around debating and watched it over the years, the hardest thing for any team to do is to win in one of the other islands. A lot of them who say that they've won championships, they win them at home, where I suppose judges can be more sympathetic. Here's Little Nevis. Three-peat. And I believe 2 of those 3 wins have been outside of Nevis. And I believe that that is something that all of us at home and abroad should be proud of. And so tonight I pay homage to the team. I was able to receive them at RLB, and I know Minister Liebert, who's the minister charged with education, had a wonderful reception for them, receiving them into Nevis as they came in. And I'm so pleased. My heart was full. My heart continues to be full. I am glad to be alive at a moment like this, to see Little Nevis take its rightful place in the region and the world. My heart is full. I think these students deserve our heartiest commendation. And it says to us that despite the naysayers, despite the appetite for a constant stream of negativity, the natural nabobs of negativity, I like to borrow that phrase. Despite that, we have young people who are doing amazing things. And we must cherish them and encourage them. When I look at these youngsters standing on a stage in Antigua, a foreign land, standing firm, resolute, and advancing their arguments as best as they can, and winning in the name of Nevis, I say to God be the glory. It reinforces what I've always known, that we are limited not by our size, not by the circumstance of our birth. We are limited only by the ambit and extent of our ambitions and our willingness to work hard. To God be the glory. My heart is full, and I want to commend those students. I will take another 5 minutes. I know my soliloquy, my monologue has been lengthy tonight. And those last few minutes is to congratulate the country of St. Kitts and Nevis. St. Kitts and Nevis has recently, just in the past week, been ranked 30th in the world of 126 countries ranked. 30th in the world for respect for the rule of law. You may ask, what is the rule of law all about? The rule of law, as simply as I could put it, is to say that no man is above the law. That means Tut, Mun, Sam, and Bagay are subject to the same law. We don't have any law where a king is not subject to it and the commoner is. No. Tut, Mun, Sam, and Bagay. Prime Minister and commoner. Tut, Mun, Sam, and Bagay are subject to the same law. No man is above the law. That, in a nutshell, is what the rule of law means. Respect for law. Respect for the courts. Respect for the principles of our Constitution and our laws that guide us. It is a marvelous testimony to the strength of our democracy that an international organization can rank St. Kitts and Nevis 30th in the world. I want you to take that into context, ladies and gentlemen. We're the smallest country in the Americas, a mere 55 or so thousand people. It depends, because somebody told me the other day, if a few of us travel, the population drops significantly. 55,000, take it or leave it, about that. Small country trying to find its way in the world. A young country, just turned 35 years. And that small young country is seen not by us. That's important. We didn't mark our own exam paper. Some people like to do that and announce themselves great. No. By an independent body has assessed us as 30th in the world and second in the Caribbean. And in all of the Caribbean, we are second only to Barbados, and only by 1 point. Barbados is first and we are second, but only by 1 point. Number 1 in the OECS, and second only to Barbados in the entire Caribbean region. So Jamaica, with its long history, long independence since 1962, we became independent in 1983. We're ahead of them. Trinidad, Long independence since, I believe, 1966. Guyana, big country. We are ahead of them all. I do not say that to boast. I say that to tell us that we ought to be proud of this country. That we have problems like anybody else has problems. But when outside agencies look at us and give us this kind of accolade, it says to me that we are doing something right. And it says to me that as a people we should be proud. Because when investors are looking for a safe place to invest, one of the things they look at is the rule of law. Can they just take my property, or do we have laws that will be respected, a court system that is strong, that is independent? All of these are factors that they look at. And an international organization assessing 126 countries ruled us, Little St. Kitts and Nevis, that belongs to you and me, number 30 in the world and number 2 in the Caribbean region. We should be pleased, we should be proud, we should allow our patriotism to allow us to celebrate achievements such as those. And I commend the Prime Minister, I commend the Minister of Justice and Attorney General, the Honorable Vincent Byron Jr. I commend the entire cabinet and people of St. Kitts and Nevis for this signal achievement that we have achieved 30th in the world and number 2 in the Caribbean, behind the number 1 spot, Barbados, by only 1 point. Ladies and gentlemen, that is my soliloquy for tonight. You have heard enough of me, and I believe it's time now to hear from you. The numbers are, as always, 1-869-469-1616 and 1-869-469-1700. Before I open the phones, however, allow me a moment just to express my condolences to those who might have lost loved ones since I was last here. My prayers for those who might be sick and hospitalized or ailing in some way, physically or in their spirit. And my hope that tonight, in the hour and plus we have left, we can have a conversation that benefits us and benefits those that are listening and benefits our nation. Let's go to the phones and see who wants to talk to us. Good evening, you're on the mark.
Good evening, Ms. Sheriff.
Good evening, my dear. So good to hear your voice.
Premier.
Yes.
Proverbs 3, verse 5 and 6. Trust in the Lord with all thine heart, and lean not unto thy own understanding. In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy path. Sympathy is going out to the Halbert family at Government Road on the passing of their nephew, Malcolm Powell. Sympathy is going out to the Libert family at Morning Star on the passing of their aunt, Hyacinth Libert. Sympathy is going out to Della and Cynthia at Rollin Village on the passing of their mom, Mama Ruth, and her son, Biget. Two of them gone. Sympathy is going out to Denise, Colleen, Tasha, and Julian in Westbury on the passing of their mother, Florine Sider. Sympathy is going out to Irvin Weeks at Government Road on the passing of his wife. Sympathy is going out to the Warner family at Bricklin Village on the passing of their family, Sylvia Jeffers. Good night to my cousin and my nephew over there in Cole, Canada. You have yourself a gorgeous night, Mr. Brantley. Good night.
Thank you very much. And how can I help you tonight? What's going on?
It is time for life, and good night to you listeners to radio and internet of Van Radio on the map. Now, let me get to a level of the aspect where we see that there was a succession meeting in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis pertaining to CARICOM International, right?
Yes, the CARICOM heads had their intersessional meeting here last week.
Now, we realize that you all had some aspect on the agenda, but we like to ask, was the reparation aspect was a part of the agenda discussion too?
No, that was not part of this discussion, no.
Why I ask that because I know CARICOM has set up a body that lead the work of the CARICOM Commission head by Sir Hilary Beckers, and we realize that we as a federation in foreign no cases yet. So I would like to know what your level as being the premier and being a part of the federal government, if you all are really looking to have some emphasis to shed light upon this aspect of this view towards reparation, to pursue cases and to help start the movement or the commission to send and lobby against all those who have played part in the aspect of transatlantic slavery. So I am asking you, Mr. Premier, can you take this to the cabinet when you are meet now and give more emphasis to see what the label and the liar standard as we can take to bring a greater emphasis on our people to have some health benefits coming for it, and not just for economic, but we can have restoration and restoration and restorative justice, because they're taking a lot of things that the people have been suffer all the community. Thanks a lot, Mr. Minister.
All right, well, thank you. I think you've made a valuable point about reparations. I believe, like we did a consultation in relation to the controversial issue of marijuana, cannabis as it's called, so to this government has really taken a view that these are matters to be widely discussed. And I say that because I think that reparations, one of the questions I've always had is in what form and how should reparations look? Are we talking about money that we are demanding from these countries, or are we talking about opportunity that we are demanding that they provide? I have marveled for many years as I travel in Europe at the buildings, the monuments that are there, and the realization that a lot of the wealth of the Americas and Europe have come from the suffering of our forefathers. I think that we would be obtuse and ignorant to our own history if we were to deny that. Question, though, is how do we formulate and how do we deal with this whole issue of reparations? It's a difficult question. They will argue and say this was hundreds of years ago, and that those of us, you and I, who are living today, some of us can't even really trace our ancestry back as far. And that, no doubt, will be their argument, that it is too far removed in terms of time. There are many others who will argue that the legacy of slavery and the misfortune that befell our ancestors and that has plunged generations of people into poverty and into deprivation, that continues and that legacy lingers until today. And it is for that reason that people say reparations ought to be paid. I believe it is a legitimate debate. I believe that it is one that if the moral compass is to arc in one direction, it would arc towards reparations. But my question is, what form should that reparations take? Should every man, black man alive today, person of African descent, be given a sum of money? Is that what we're talking about? Are we talking instead about people being given opportunity and investment being made in these countries to make us whole and to bring us up, rather than, as is now the New World Order, to say to us, small as we are, vulnerable as we are, that we must pull ourselves up by our own bootstraps? As I heard someone say, you can't tell a man to pull himself up by his bootstraps when he doesn't have boots. And if he does have boots, the boots don't have straps. This is our reality. And so I welcome the discussion and the debate. And I think that any government should be guided by that kind of discussion and widespread debate on a matter that is so critically important. It is 1 minute past the hour of 9 o'clock on my clock here at Von Radio. If you've just tuned in, you're listening to On the Mark. I'm your host, Mark Brantley. And you, of course, are tuned into VON Radio, the voice of Nevis, the Eastern Caribbean's only powerhouse. 860 on your AM dial or www.vonradio.com. And we invite your calls on this Ash Wednesday as we have the program and seek your input. The numbers to call again are 869-469-1616 and 869-469-1700. Now, as we wait for the phones to ring, let me take a moment. I've already done my monologue, and I'm looking now for dialogue. But as I wait for dialogue and for the phones to ring, let me take a moment. I received a message that there are people who are seeking to do things and engage in activities that I would determine and conclude are vandalism at our new Mondo facility, Mondo Track facility. I'm appealing to our people and saying to them that that facility is a state-of-the-art facility. We spared no expense and we spared no technology. We incorporated the very best that was available because we thought that's what the people of Nevis deserved. It is true that we have not yet embarked on the stadium, but we have seating there and we have a first-rate track with first-rate technology, proper lighting that would allow our young athletes to have an opportunity to compete at a venue that is world-class. I was really saddened this evening to hear that people have sought to go on out there, and I'm told have even tried to drive vehicles on the Mondo Track itself. Now, you may not like me. I understand that not everybody will like me. You may not like my party. I understand that not everybody will like my party. You may not even like yourself. I hope you will learn to grow to like yourself. But I'm asking the people of Nevis, please, to protect what we have. And it cannot make sense for us to seek to invest. Not for me, I'm not an athlete. I wish I was, but I'm not. We're investing for the youth and for the people of Nevis. So when I hear these things, it grieves me deeply. It hurts me to my core that people can look at a facility, the majesty of it. Whenever I see it, particularly lit at nights, I say, my God, thank you that in my lifetime we could have something like this on the island of Nevis. And to hear that people want to drive vehicles on the track, this bothers me, and I'm using this show because I know this show is widely listened to. Let us protect what we have. We have too many in our society whose only interest is to destroy. I recall one year we fixed up the cultural village, and I went there to go to the bathroom, and every single pane of glass in the bathroom windows had been broken, just as if somebody took a rock or a hammer and ensured that every single pane of glass was broken. Why? I ask you. Should our people engage in that type of activity? Why should we engage in such self-hate for our island and for ourselves? These things are there for all of us. Let us be proud and let us protect. NRP brought Sixth Form to Nevis. Sixth Form produced me. I am now the leader of CCM. You know why I say that? That was an institution that had nothing to do at the end of the day with who brought it. It's an institution that has served all of us. And so whilst, yes, it's CCM that had brought the Mondo facility, it is intended to serve all of us. And long after I am gone, I am hopeful that that facility will remain as an indication of what we, the people of Nevis, would have been able to achieve. Because remember, I am only now the caretaker. And my time will come soon enough when I will go off the stage and a new caretaker will come. That is the order of things. Let us protect what we have, ladies and gentlemen. Let us hold it dear. And let us condemn foolishness when and where we see it. Let us protect what we have and avoid the vandalism and the bad mind that some people seem to have, that they will go out and destroy what we are seeking to build. This little Nevis is all we have. Let us protect it. Please. Let us protect it. Let me go back to the phones. Good evening, you're on the mark.
Good evening, Mr. Brantley.
Good evening to you.
Yes, there's one or two things I took umbrage with your soliloquy tonight. Right? The first is, You never, never excuse bad behavior by pointing to other bad behavior. Agreed?
I'm listening to your caller.
Right. Too many people are prone to use this argument. They used to do it too, right? I mean, you can't go to a judge to defend a client who is a thief by saying other people thieves too.
Yeah, but you can't. But caller, in fairness, you can't go to a judge who's accusing you of being a thief when that judge is also a thief. That's a different point. And when you set yourself up in judgment of other people, I believe it was Jesus Christ himself, when they wanted to stone that poor woman. Remember what he said? He who is without sin cast the first stone.
No, you don't use that argument.
Why can't I use that argument? You can't be a thief and call me thief.
Right? You see, okay.
Caller, no. Let me tell you. You cannot be a thief and call me thief. You must be a saint if you want to tell me that I'm a sinner.
Hold on.
Yes.
You are not accountable to Nisbet and Hector alone. Yes, they are part of the opposition.
Caller, I'm making my point, and my point has been made, and I believe well made, and the people of Nevis understand what I'm saying.
Okay.
You have a record.
They too would understand that it is an insult to come to them, right, with this, their hands not clean defense, right, because they make accusations. Okay? And like I said, the more important factor is you're accountable to the people who vote, irrespective of what Hector and Nisbet did, right? It is your tenure in government that is on the scrutiny.
Caller, I'm fine. So you call and you scrutinize me. I have no difficulty with you saying to me, Mr. Brantley, no, caller, no. You call and you scrutinize. I have no difficulty with that. But you don't send people as messengers who have done the things that some of these messengers have done. No, I won't accept criticism from them.
Oh, you won't accept?
No. If you want to criticize me, I'll accept it from you, because the only bad thing I've ever heard about you is that when Douglas was in power, you couldn't find your tongue. That is the only bad thing I've ever heard about you.
And according to you, that's not bad anyway. Because as you said, civil servants should know their...
Okay. Well, I'm glad you find your tongue now, but I have not heard anything worse about you.
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
Yeah, the time will come when they will have to answer.
But you must help. You mustn't say the time will come, you know. Because as you examine me, which you should do, you should also examine those who offer themselves as an alternative to me.
Yeah, but you're in power now.
No, but they're asking to be in power. So what are you trying to say?
No, I'm trying to say that you have more responsibility.
Oh, I might. At this point in time, to be sure.
That's what I'm saying.
But you don't tell me that because I'm in office now, you must only scrutinize me. So you're not going to scrutinize those who ask you to put them there?
You're saying that the devil cannot correct sin. To me, he's a straw man, right? The people are the ones who will make the pronouncement on the sin.
But obviously,
in any case, why should they be contrite if they did something untoward, contrary to you? Look at how you treated Douglas.
Contrite to me, caller?
Huh?
They don't need to be contrite to me. You just say it's the people.
Okay.
It's the people they must be contrite to, not to me.
No. What I was pointing out was look at how you treated Douglas when he was penitent. Right? You said, go ask God for forgiveness. Don't come in the house.
But that's who he must ask. I don't understand you. At least to Douglas's credit.
Oh, dear.
I don't believe him, but at least to his credit, he said, I was sorry. At least to his credit.
Okay. Yeah, but you didn't offer forgiveness. And you know, people should not get disillusioned with our wayward politicians, you know. And you ask, why should we re-elect someone with a record? Well, I'm sure Mr. Grant would be very uncomfortable and uneasy when you said that. And the only way politicians will get the message is if we change them fast, right?
Caller, you know what I admire about you?
Change them until we get the change we need.
Caller, you know what I admire about you?
What's that?
You call in every week. I see now you look like you go on social media. And I welcome that. I think you should engage in every forum.
Sure, why not?
But you have the privilege. You know the privilege you have?
What?
You have the privilege of a voice without responsibility.
A voice without responsibility?
Yes. Because you come, wait, let me tell you what I mean. You come every week and you know what everybody else must do. Well, if you know we must change the government so often, well, why you don't put your hand in the ring, hat in the ring, and tell them? What do you mean, no?
People like you, man.
It's for people like me.
Young people like you, yeah. Or younger people like
you. But you just said that for years you couldn't find your tongue. Now you find it, you must put it to good use. It can't be just to call in on shows and make noise.
That's exactly what I'm doing, because it points out the inconsistencies that you have.
What are the inconsistencies?
And I'm saying,
yes.
Right, you know, we should change the politicians until we get the change we need. I mean, even if we have to recycle. You know, politicians are like socks. If you don't change them often, they stink.
But
right?
You had a politician for 20 years. You never thought they were like socks then? You never called on them to be changed?
There you go again.
No, caller, but I have to point out your hypocrisy. Because all of a sudden, you want politicians to be changed like socks, but we appear socks for 20 years.
Hold on.
And you never had a problem that the socks stink.
You just tell me,
yes,
right, that you agreed with me. I was a civil servant. I should keep my place. You don't go around screaming all kind of nonsense.
Listen, caller, I'm listening to you, but please, caller, I'm listening to you, but please don't tell nobody you fool me, okay? So go ahead.
What do you mean?
No, I tell you, go ahead. I'm listening, but don't tell nobody you fool me.
Who said that just now?
Me. I'm saying that to you. So go ahead and make your point now that you're a civil servant and therefore you couldn't have an opinion. You want
I always have an opinion.
You want a voter. When you're a civil servant, you want a voter?
Hold on.
Yes.
Sure, and I always exercise my right.
Okay.
What you wanted me to do? Go and scream like at Douglas, like you all used to?
Listen.
What, as a civil, you would not accept that from your civil servant. Why should I have done that?
Caller, let me say to you, that I do not accept for a moment that is a reason why you had nothing to say.
Oh, okay.
And had no opinion, because you can express an opinion on a matter of principle. You suddenly are the most principled person, and I respect that. And you call into every program and you announce and enunciate your principles, and I respect that. But you can't just have principles for the government of the day. You can't every time that something is pointed out.
Of the day is the government of the day.
Yes.
They are the only ones who have the power to change things. That's my point.
Caller, I hear your point. I hear your point.
The opposition?
But my point to you is this, that you always in any country have competing views. In our country, in terms of our democracy, you have two sides. And it seems to me slightly off-putting that you only have your principles trained on one side. And the other side can do whatever they do and say whatever they say. Their record should not be examined, because as far as you're concerned, oh, don't go back there. That is the past.
But
let us deal with the present.
If you're changing things, you got to look ahead, Mr. Branson.
So the record is of no... So I'm asking you, the record is of no relevance.
The point is, if we have alternatives, and the only alternative is who you say you had the record, we must judge that. You want us to reward the same bad behavior. That's it, no.
Caller,
okay?
Don't bother come with the same bad behavior argument, because there's no behavior today that can be compared.
What?
No behavior today. And I'm telling you that with no water in my mouth.
Anyway, that leads me to the last point.
Yes,
right?
make the last point quick.
The World Justice Project report that you mentioned.
I'm happy that you're pleased with it.
I'm not.
You're not?
No, listen why. I understand that you would look for the positives in that report. But our ranking has been downgraded from last year. Go and check last year's report.
What was the ranking last year?
What
was the ranking last year?
Hold on. To me. We were on 30th. We were above 30. And
Caller, you're not even sounding like you're convincing yourself.
Okay.
What was the ranking last year? I went and I looked as far back as 2016. 2016 we were number 30 in the world.
They had 16?
2016.
And we were what?
Number 30 in the world.
And what were we last year? Because you see, the thing is, right? Listen, we were among the lowest in the area of open government. I think we were 27 out of the 30 countries. That's dismal. Okay, and we fell off in the area of corruption too. You know? And when we look when I look at, I think we were very high in terms of security. But the other countries must be in a real terrible state, right? I'm just saying that we're going in the wrong direction.
Caller, where you born?
Okay?
Where you born?
In St. Kitts.
You think there's anything good at all about St. Kitts Nevis?
Lots of things.
Okay. Well, you can mention one now once in a while.
Why should I? You do that?
No, but I'm asking you because here an international agency rates your country and my country as number 30 in the world, number 2 in the Caribbean, just one single point behind Barbados. And you will call in the station tonight to say you're disappointed.
But it has, because it's going in the wrong direction. We should be doing better. You see, you know, this half a loaf mantra of yours is going to be better for you politically.
Okay.
Right?
But caller, all I will tell you is this, right? That my death and rumors of my death,
politically,
my death and rumors of my death have been around for a long time. I understand politically. That's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
Many have predicted my demise.
Yes,
but I'm here to tell you tonight that Mark Brantley is here and I'm strong like a lion.
Yes.
So you continue to predict, because the only predictions that have come true is when I sat in St. Kitts in my last sitting on the opposition benches and I said, when I am back, I will be over there.
I told you already to do some introspection.
And what introspection you want me to do?
Huh?
Hear good news about my country and condemn it?
No. I hearing you defending all kind of nonsense, like nepotism and so on. Okay. And I don't think you should be doing that.
Okay.
Right?
All right. Try to call back in a little later. Let's give somebody a chance, okay? All right, my brother. Thank you very much. I always liked your calls, always live and lively. But as I tell you, tell people that I listen to you, but don't tell nobody you fool me. That is important. Let's go back to the phones. Good evening. You're on the mark. Hello?
Mark Brantley, good evening.
You're on the mark. Go ahead, please.
We just started hearing good news from February 15, 2015. Just asking the question.
I don't know what you just started hearing. The country has been having good news since its creation.
So let me ask you a question, Mr. Mark Brantley.
Yes.
Remember some years ago, Timothy Harris went to St. Vincent to protest. And there was people holding the flag, said hungry belly in St. Kitts. You saw that video on YouTube?
No.
Okay.
I recall that the then member of the opposition went to St. Vincent to protest the fact that we had an outstanding motion of no confidence in the country.
When you get some time, try and look up that video. Another question. I listened to you a while ago talking about love the country. You remember Timothy Harris said that you're most likely to get killed in St. Kitts and Nevis than in Jamaica? You remember the words?
No, I do not.
You don't remember.
No.
When you get a chance again, go on YouTube and look up them things. You see, I'm all for my country. I'm just like everybody. I'm just like you, very passionate about my country. But the kind of behavior I saw before February 15 about this same country, I could recall during the World Cup, Mr. Mark Brantley. Nevis refused to be a part of the World Cup when Douglas was building the stadium. You remember that?
Caller, what nonsense are you talking about?
Nevis
refused to be a part of the World Cup?
Mark, Van Damme is not going to be a part of it. You forget?
Caller, please. If you're going to come, I keep saying to you, come with some things that we can debate.
Do you remember you saying that the park was a waste of time and Nevis had to test cricketers?
Caller, please, okay?
Okay,
I said, yes, you have a good night as well, because you come with all kind of Nancy story, and I can't really deal. This is not time for bedtime stories. Bedtime will be after 10 when the show is finished, all right? If you come here, let us talk and reason with each other as sensible people who have lived here. You're trying to say Nevis didn't want anything to World Cup. No cricket happening in the country unless Nevis is there. Nevis supports cricket. Look around and you see the crowd who going to be there from Nevis come weekend. So let us leave them nonsense to one side. And the rumor mongering and the real foolishness. As a people, we are better than that. We are above that. You support your side, that is fine. This is a democracy. But come with facts and let us therefore be able to reason with each other. You have one of your spokespeople for the opposition, they will call her before you, saying let's not look at the past, we'll look at the present. But every time you call, you tell me if I remember something happened when Noah built the ark. I don't know what you're talking about. If I see a placard that somebody was holding up in St. Vincent, what I got to do with you and me and the country? Placard in St. Vincent? when we come, let us, if you all want, this is, I tell you all already, you know, this show is prime time radio. This is the Eastern Caribbean's only powerhouse. This ain't no piao, little fool radio station. This is reaching the world. So when you all call, get your script ready. Make sure you do your research properly. If somebody give you a question to ask, make sure you learn the question before you call. So when you call, we could have a reasoned debate. We not waste time with foolishness, because it's important that we see it together to enlighten people and enlighten each other, teach each other, learn from each other. And the public hopefully will be the beneficiaries. Let's go back to the phones. The phones are ringing off the hook. There's 18 minutes past the hour of 9 o'clock. Turn off your radio so you can hear what we're saying.
Yeah, yes, good evening.
Good evening, my dear.
Try and fun. I want to know, right, that when people work in a factory or any area, right, and again in a several pay, if they work 20 years, it's 16 years pay they gonna get?
15 years, no.
Somebody said so, if they work 20 years, at 16 years pay they gonna get.
No. Yeah. I don't have the line in front of me, but that's not accurate. They may get 15 months, not 15 years.
Not years, like it's the pay. When they add it up, you work 20 years, they will talk out. Wait for.
Well, I'll have to look into that. I don't know.
Okay.
Okay.
And tell
all right.
And you take care too, and Honorable Douglas, and tell my cool long tempo, because tempo is too high. Yeah.
All right, my dear.
Have a good night.
Okay, dear. Take care. God bless. Let's go back to the phones. We hear somebody all in the VI trying to call in. So let's go. Good evening. You're on the mark.
Good evening, Mr. Brantley.
Good evening. How you do?
Man, I'm here enjoying it.
Yes. Talk to me.
I must commend you for being frank and candid. Some people don't like the truth, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I like the way you approach matters, so people can't say they did not know. Because we like to manipulate our people who often are unaware of some facts and information. Even no matter with the Four Seasons. That to me is a very good approach that you have taken. So you can't have people running around later and saying, oh, they never know. Now, it is very interesting that there are people who do not want anybody to refer to the past performance of the former government.
Mm-hmm.
Yet they're asking you to go back. They want, you must change and keep recycling. Now, if there are only two parties involved, and you just got rid of one because of what they did, and you're asking people now to go back. So, go back to what? I mean, people have got to be logical. You cannot just say, every time you bring up something, you can't talk about it, talk about no. I mean, we're dealing with intelligent people, and we should be having intelligent discourse. You can't, I heard even the one with the ranking. If other countries come in, they push you down, and not wanting to acknowledge that the country is in a good position, speaks of not being patriotic. And we have got to pay attention to the word patriotism, you know. Because we only seem to know it when our party is in.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
When the party is in, saying it's nice, saying it's sexy, everything is good. And when you start to remove the covers, because economic data is there, people talk about nepotism. And when you start to lay out the facts, and you don't have to go and hunt for any of them, you know. You don't have to hunt, Mr. Brantley. Just ask, who was here? What relation is that person to this person? Don't bring up that.
Well, that is the problem, caller, that I have. And that's why I refer to the old things that our parents and grandparents used to say, pot calling kettle black and devil can't correct sin.
It's not even pot calling.
But I know.
It is more like
Right?
I will tell you what I have so that you don't point at me.
Well, as I say, but the problem that I have is at the convenience of the argument sometimes.
Weak argument because,
right?
Look, St. Kitts is a small place. We know who held what position. We know who was related to who.
Exactly.
So when I hear this talk about, nepotism, I mean, really? As if you don't know who was whose sister and who was who auntie and uncle and what position they were put into. And then you wipe off your mouth, you eat, go around the house, wipe off your mouth and come back in front. And then you have intelligent people coming and saying, every time, don't go back there. Well, if you don't go back there, then that party should disband. The whole party should disband. Because if you cannot discuss that, then we want reparation. So how are you going to discuss reparation without reference to history?
Well, we are being told that history is irrelevant. And only the present matters.
I tell you already, we're playing too much with the minds of our people, Acting as if everybody is stupid. We must go back and give another chance. I mean, so what happened behind how did we get to where we are? We didn't just jump from 1995 to 2015. A whole lot happened there. And when people start to call the word corruption, they have to give their definition of it. It is corruption by anybody other than us. That's what I mean by corruption,
By anybody other than us.
Other than us.
I like that.
They have a monopoly, you understand? Some people have the trademark, the patent for corruption, nepotism, cronyism. So unless they are the ones doing it, then anybody else who they think might be trying to do it. And the argument is so weak. But what bothers me when you have intelligent people like my good friend, they want two ahead. He knows better.
Okay.
He knows better. Our job is to educate our people, and this is what I like about the way when problems come, you must keep on addressing it. Whenever you fail to address a situation, it becomes a ploy for them. So they say something and they want to just ignore it. Mr. Brantley thief, right? You must just say, well, I didn't steal. Mr. Brantley liar. Then when you start to lay out the whole lies that they tell, you don't go back. All I beg you is to put your trust in God, yeah?
Okay.
Ask God for direction.
Yes,
Solomon said, Lord, give me wisdom.
Absolutely.
That I may lead this people, because you know the kind of people I have to lead. And I call upon the opposition, both in St. Kitts and Nevis, to be responsible. You are not helping people when you're not educating them. There are other issues, they have a right to oppose. But when they do so, they must do so with truth. Unless it is truth, it's just propaganda and confusing. You confuse the mind of the people. And the young people say, look, let the old people stay there with the politics, yeah? I don't want anybody mess with my mind.
Okay.
All right then, enjoy the
caller, we'll have to leave it there with phones a little. We have half an hour left. Good evening, you're on the mark. Hello?
Good night again, Mark. Good night.
Yes, good evening, go ahead.
Yes, Mark. Yeah, Mark, that's all you call it, a gentleman, right? Next time you come back, ask him that if he was when the Labour government was in, if he worked for the 20 years that the Labour government was in office. Because I know that he was on retirement when the Labour government was in office and all these things was going on, he was in retirement. And the next thing, Mark, I want to talk about the opposition up there in Nevis. When they come down here, Mark, and the banter and a lot of things. And Mark, let me tell you something, right? It seems to me like they're just opposing for opposing sake. Mark, I believe that if we tell the truth sometimes, it better for someone else, Because if you and the federal government doing well for the country, I believe that they come out and tell the people the truth. Because I think that they're doing more damage, they're doing no good for themselves, Mark. They ain't doing no good for themselves. Because the whole the Federation of Think and we see what this unity government is doing. Distraction, it won't work. You understand? And I'm glad you spell it out tonight. Because these gentlemen come down here as they in your position now. I think they don't got seat in government now. They got seat in government up there, Mark.
Well, none of those who talking have a seat.
Yes.
So, Mr. Perry has a seat, and I consult and discuss matters with Mr. Perry from time to time. But the fellas them who making noise, they don't have a seat. No.
Yeah, Mark. Yeah, man. Mark, I believe that sometimes, listen, if you're in opposition and you see your country doing well, man, you come out and tell the people, man, listen now, wherever. Do not come lie and spend. This is a modern time, Mark. Nobody's stupid. Nobody's stupid. Everybody see this unity government going full speed ahead, looking after the affairs of the country and looking after the people. It wasn't like before. Can't do Mr. Phil with the corruption after corruption for 20 years, and nobody was coming out and opposing and saying nothing. And the gentleman will come on all the time bothering you. You must tell him that. Ask him if he was he was working for 20 years when the Labour was in government.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. We have maybe about 28 minutes left. We're going to take your calls on 869-469-1616, 869-469-1700. Let's go back to the phones. It's Ash Wednesday. Good evening. You're on the mark.
Hi. Good evening.
Good evening to you.
Mr. Branton, how are you?
I'm well, thank you.
Okay. Earlier you mentioned about the Mondo truck, is it?
Yes.
That vandalism? There's a camera around?
Well, we have security in place, and the report that I'm getting really is that people are going in there and trying to do things.
It seems it's all over. I don't understand with people.
Well, we continue to appeal to people to do the right thing. Because
even the very Kim Collins Stadium, and then they want the government must do this, government might do that. When it's we individuals who are destroying these things here. Always have a safe evening.
Okay, thank you very much. Let's go back to the phones. Good evening, you're on the mark.
Good evening, Honorable. How are you doing tonight?
Good evening to you. I'm well, thank you.
When last you slowed down and played a game of Worry?
I don't even know how to play Worry. Somebody was trying.
Man.
They're trying to teach me one time.
Okay.
In the square. You remember?
Yeah, I do.
All right.
That's why I called you. I heard you say something tonight, and I know I came by you and sat with you and, presented some exhibits. And so, this dumbing down of the human being is terrible, man. It makes my head hurt. When we have to refer to the Bible in order to get things clear, it's first off, I'm going to tell you like this, the Bible is real, okay? Most people don't believe it. They waste time doing a whole bunch of stupidness. In the creation story, I'm hoping that when you go in the cabinet, you can explain this, because I'm going to tell you, in the creation story on the sixth day, he gave herb as meat to everything that walk on the planet, which means we should be vegetarians. But however we've evolved, we've been losing our way and all this kind of stuff, so we're where we're at right now. Psalms 104 and verse 14 tells you about how he gives it to us as a service, so that we can do things. And when you read it, you know that it describes two separate things and that it has a purpose. I'm living here on Nevis because of the situation I found myself in, my ways, and I'm being corrected for it. I'm just thankful that God could bring me around to some people who, claim that they're serving God and not really doing it. I had a chance to read the Bible, And I thank you for allowing me to speak with you tonight. You know, it's a humbling experience to be able to read the Bible and understand something of it, have a basic concept. Know that we, as a people, are subjected to things and kept from, well, as a matter of fact, our rightful place. I thank you that you didn't have to come into your position because you wanted a house or a car or anything like that. So, you know, may the work of God be glorified in your behalf. Have a great night.
Thank you, brother. Thank you very much for that, and thank you for the reference to the Psalm. And I take on board what you're saying and agree with you that we really do need to pay greater attention to that book, because if we're guided by that book, I think you said it's alive, I think that we would have the best possible society. Let's go back to the phones and take some more calls. Okay, we've missed that caller. Let's try this one. Good evening, you're on the mark. Hello?
Hello, good night.
Yes, you're on the mark. Go ahead, please.
Hello?
Yes, you're on the air. Go ahead, please.
Yes, good night, Mr. Brantley.
Good night to you.
You were speaking about how what farmers state could get reparation, right?
Yes.
Sometime in December, we are running forced to go into assembly to put some things in place to accommodate the European Bank.
The European Union you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yes.
Isn't it the same European Union who is now putting laws on us? For example, when and if we do legalize marijuana, they still want to clamp down on us that they won't accept our money in the bank.
Well, it's not as simple as that, but go ahead, caller. Go ahead.
In 2008, when Obama got in power, the same European banks and American banks, they went bankrupt, and how CEOs and managers went with a lot of the money, and poor people who had to subsidize those banks. Okay, I'll come back to Nevis and saying it now. You're speaking about the Mondo sack, right? What I would like to see happening in St. Kitts and Nevis, they have a senior secondary school competition. St. Kitts and Nevis, right?
Athletics, you mean?
Yeah. I would like to see that happening with the primary schools. They have a 9-lane track on Nevis. What I would like to see happen, the best 4 and St. Kitts, the best 4 and Nevis schools, and the best 5th finishing school compete when it's taking place on Nevis. St. Kitts is an 8-lane, so it's a 4 and 4. I spoke about it last year. And so, you had a young girl to play part in Caristo for 14 years. So then you have to groom the children them from a kind of age so they could see what they're looking for, set an aim in life, so at the end of the day, when they do secondary school, they might set on some university in America where you give them a scholarship or something like that.
Well, I think the suggestion is a good one. We do have an inter-primary championships in Nevis that we dub the Mini Olympics. And I realize that there's one in St. Kitts as well. But you're right. I'm not sure that we have one that is federal.
No, they are non-federal.
Right. And we do have a high school champs that's federal.
Exactly.
So it might be a good idea. And I agree with you. That is something that is worthwhile.
We selling passports, use some of the money for that. Giving up the young people them.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you very much. 20 minutes to the hour of 10 o'clock. We're taking your calls at 869-469-1616, 869-469-1700. And if you just tuned in, I'm Mark Brantley, your host, and you're listening to On The Mark. You're viewing and listening On The Mark right here on VON Radio, the voice of Nevis, the Eastern Caribbean's only powerhouse, www.vonradio.com or 860 on your AM dial. Let's go back to the phones and take some more calls. Good evening, you're On The Mark.
Yes, Mr. Brantley.
Yes, you're on the air.
You know the biggest indictment against this government? They promised to change things for the better in the area of governance, and haven't done so. Last election was about governance questions, not about projects and roads and that kind of thing. You all now want it to be about those things, to distract from the governance issues. And we'll see if the people let y'all get away with it. everybody should be held accountable, past and present. But my point is, those who are in power now and who have the power and the responsibility to change things for the better, they should do it. And if they don't change things for the better, right, then they shouldn't be rewarded for deceiving the people.
A caller just called in. A caller just called in and suggested that you were to ask you if you were employed for all 20 years under Labour.
And even more on for the 15 years before that too, on the pound.
So for the 20 years under Labour, you were a civil servant.
Yeah, pretty much. And up until I retired in 2005. No, I retired in 2005.
You retired when?
2005.
So for the last 10 years, 2005 to 2015.
I migrated for a little while. I was in the States for a while. It's only since I came back down I really started going on the radio.
So when you went States, they didn't have phone up there? This show has been on the air now for over a decade.
Mr. Brantley, I'm retired. I could afford to do that now. When I was working after I retired from government.
But I feel you misled me because you said you were a civil servant and you had me agreeing with you.
Well, I was a civil servant.
But now I'm hearing that you're until 2005, but you had 10 years more under Labour and you never had a comment to make.
But hold on. In the first place, right, Mr. Brantley, in the first place, you probably don't know where I was working before.
No, I'm not had the pleasure of meeting you, so I don't know.
And I could tell you that nobody who was working in that establishment had any time to be listening to radio, let alone calling. Okay? Before and when I went up to the States, that was even worse. Right? I mean, you don't have time for this kind of thing. Okay. But the fact is, when I returned home, I returned home and retired, and I see that because I've been through so many election cycles, and you get the same thing over and over and over again. Yes. So I decided, no, man, you mean we're going to be doing this in perpetuity? That's ridiculous. Okay. And that's why I was hoping that somebody like you, who I think I told you when I was at the college, and we had a function there at OTI, you probably don't remember it. No, I don't. You were the guest speaker, and somebody introduced you as the bright star on the political horizon. And so I really had some hope that, a new generation of politicians would make a difference. But, you come and you just lie there. It's like if you lay down with the dogs, the cat would flee. And so you come with the same thing instead of trying to do something different and do something better. That's the disappointment. And that's what really caused me to get up and start to talk, because, it's like everybody accepts this. Oh, well, that's politics. It always has to be this way. It always be the tit for tat, And I say, no, it doesn't have to be that way, right? I really long for a black country, right, that is a really shining example of a modern, well-managed, well-run, progressive country where you have good governance and accountability. We don't have examples of that, and there's no reason why St. Peter and Nevis can't be like that. And I'm saying it's the leadership in particular that is to our detriment. Unless we get good leadership who is visionary enough to say, stop looking at the next election, look at the next generation, make sure things are better. We're going to still be doing the same old worn argument 20 years from now. Okay. That's what you really want for your children, Mr. Brantley?
All right. Well, I got you. I got the point.
Okay.
Thank you very much for your contribution, and, it's interesting. But your earlier conversation, caller, that's why I like to say that tell people that I listen to you, but not tell nobody you fool me. Because the earlier conversation, I thought that you had just retired from the civil service. I don't know if I'm wrong, but I think that's the sense we got here in the studio. And so when I said people accusing you of just finding your tongue, your excuse was, well, you're a civil servant and you didn't want to talk out on these matters. Now I'm hearing that you retired since 2005. So that means you had 10 years of Dr. Douglas thereafter. And nobody can recall ever hearing your voice. Not to say that you have any obligation to anybody to speak or not to speak. But it gives some support to the argument when people say that it is an argument of convenience. Now, had you been a consistent campaigner for the things that you now say you hold dear, and you can point back and say, listen, I don't care who's government, I'm demanding better of them, then perhaps you could understand that your views will be treated with greater credibility. And people will say, this man, whether it's Tom, Dick, or Harry in there, he's consistent in his viewpoint, and has always been an advocate for what is good and great. But now it seems you're only an advocate now. You were never an advocate then. And you're seeking through your advocacy now to tell people, go back to what was, whilst at the same time telling us we must not point to the ills of the past. It is quite a convoluted web that you're weaving. I would not suggest that you're weaving that web to deceive, because I'm not deceived. But it shows, and I understand when people say that the arguments are hollow, because you have not shown that consistency. Those who set themselves up as moral arbiters and who say that they're on a higher plane than mere mortals must demonstrate a consistency of position. That is what gives them the moral authority to speak in that way. But when they're so wrong, I hear people talking about nepotism. They say Mark Brantley is nepotistic. And I say, point me to a single member of my family that is any government job, government institution, appointed by me to any board of any government institution, statutory corporation, or anything of that nature. Point me to that. Point me to the land or house that I would have given to any member of my family or made possible for them through the government or any agency for the government. Point me to that. Point me to any example where I've used my office in some way, shape, or form to put money in my pocket, or anybody that is a family member of mine, close friend. To me, that is what you call nepotism. And of course, we must examine those who are doing the talking. The way you think you could talk harder than me? You could talk longer than me? I believe it was Dr. Douglas sometimes said, talk first, talk last, talk hard. We've gone past those days. People now are concerned with reasoned debate and discussion. And if you come and you start to point a finger at somebody, people naturally will say, well, let me examine you. You say that you are a prophet. You say that you are a man of God. But how could you be a man of God and say that you condemn sin when you're living in sin? These are legitimate questions to ask. You can't be on the pulpit preaching brimstone and fire and sinners, and then you involve in thief in the church money. People have a right to point that out to you. So all I'm saying is that when we come, and all of us will come, I am not without my flaws. Of course, as human, we have our faults. But when you come and you seek to start to point out somebody's faults, you seek to say to somebody something is wrong with you, you understand that people will evaluate you too. And there can be nothing wrong with that in the marketplace, in the public square, where they're competing ideas and competing personalities and competing records. Nothing wrong with that. I hear people now jumping up, hip hip hooray. Nepotism, corruption. We forget that we opened a whole consulate in a foreign country, and who was in charge? We forget that. We had nothing to say about that. That was not nepotism. Now, if I had taken up the mother of my children and put her as the ambassador in New York, put her as the High Commissioner in London, put her as the Consul General in Dubai, the ambassador to the OAS. What would you have said of me? I have not done such, nor will I ever do such. And that is my difficulty. If those who now set themselves up as moral arbiters had condemned that which was, and now they say they are condemning what they claim now is, then I could say, yes, thou true and faithful servant, thou hast been consistent in thy condemnation of those who have committed wrong. But when you had no voice for the wrongdoing and no voice for the wrongdoers, and you say you were busy, you never used to listen to talk show. Lord of mercy. I went to America and the phone never used to work. Lord of mercy. But now, my phone is working. I can make calls, and I can call into the radio station and expound on great principles of morality. Well, I'm happy that you see some of us, some words have now entered our lexicon. And we've now overnight become bright. We've tasted of the Parian spring of knowledge. And all of a sudden, we wax about everything and every ill in the country. And even when there's good news in the country, we condemn it as being not good enough. It reminds me of the man who's hungry. And you were to give the man a bread and say, my friend, I realize you're hungry, here's a bread. And the man asks you, where the cheese? Where the cheese? You think you could just give me dry bread? We get no appreciation. And it goes back to the word that the caller used, patriotism. That in everything we seek, even in good news, to diminish our country that we claim we love. Let's go back to the phones. We have 6 minutes. Good evening, you're on the mark.
Blessed night, Mr. Premier.
Yes,
how are you doing, otherwise?
I'm well, thank you.
Give thanks again, and blessed night to your listeners via radio and internet. Now, just reaching from 13 miles of the ends of St. Kitts to come to Bastia. And I would like to emphasize now that seeing that as caller calling about the herb and the consideration that we see that your government have received the report from the commission, I hope that the government do the honorable thing and read out the report in the proper way it's supposed to read, from chapter 1 to chapter 12, not just chapter 11 alone, and talking about the recommendation. Because you all have made the emphasis to make guide the people when it comes to the legislation aspect of it. Now, give thanks that we could see a magnitude of the standard is going. We say Rastafari is echoing that the herb be free still and our people be holistically in the use of the herb, because it's not that drug and it will never be a drug. Only people who trying to emphasize it as a drug because they're trying to deny the natural ability that herb can bring to our people who are still in the now developing world. So give thanks, Mr. Premier. Okay. And I hope that your cabinet really bring out the full report to the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. Let them understand that we had good discussion, even though the numbers didn't come out in full, but we had other work that emphasized where we can see the information structure to our people that we know. We ain't called to use herb. It's time now we people stop play the tick for tack game and understand level of consciousness. It's spirituality. We must reveal who we are, because good over evil will trample Babylon system. Have a safe night, Mr.
All right. Okay. Thank you very much. I don't know what you mean in terms of the report and setting out. I mean, I don't know that the report has been hidden. The government addressed in the parliament the recommendations. The recommendations came out of the report. So yes, if people want to read the full report, of course, I have no difficulty with that. But in terms of the recommendations, ultimately, that's what the government focused on. This is what the commission recommended. Let's go back to the phones. We have 4 minutes left. Good evening. You're on the mark.
Yeah, just one last point I want to leave you, Mr. Brantley. Yes. Right? We do make the changes on the governance issues. It would apply to all governments in the future. right? So don't it's not about me and what I used to do and what I never used to do. I think it was Mandela who said there's never a wrong time to speak out. Okay? Okay. If we make those changes, all governments will be held accountable. Okay? That's all. That's all I want. Just make them, and everybody, you won't have to be worrying about going back. Because we have systems in place. Make sure that they all stay on the straight and narrow.
Okay.
Good night. Have a good night.
We have 2 minutes left. Let's kick and we take another call. Good evening, caller. You're on the mark. Hello?
Hello?
Yes, you're on the mark. Go ahead.
Yes, Mr. Banty, good night.
Yes.
Yes, I mean, listening to that gentleman, right? The teacher who say he was living in America and it's not timely radio. So what happens to the people who live in America that usually call in your program? I mean, your program didn't just begin yesterday. Years ago now you've been doing this, and most of the political programs usually come on the radio. So I don't understand. He seems like he wants to play like the leader for the opposition, who's smarter than me. So it seems like he wants to believe that he can outsmart everybody. But the guy have an agenda, is to make sure, like the others, is to crucify Team Unity. Nothing that Team Unity don't ever say, well, they have done this and we congratulate them. These are the hypocrisy that we have in the country. People who does not love the country. Because if you love your country and you see progress, speak about progress. But you're going to continue to go back, way back in time. We're living in the present now. We're no longer in the past, even though some people use the past to get our message across. But we are saying that never one time you hear this man congratulate Team Unity for nothing that they have done. When the country was in such a dilapidated state, when our country had so much, as the opposition leader said, so much money, and didn't know what to do with it. But all of a sudden now, this country have to do so much to bring the country back on track, because government buildings were run down, schools were run down, hospitals were run down, health center were run down, dental clinic were run down. I mean, where this guy was?
Police station.
Mr. Brantley, I'm glad. Police station, thank you. Yeah. And I'm glad that people in St. Kitts and Nevis are not so foolish as these people suppose. We are well aware of what's going on, and come tell them as quick as the bell ring, we're going to see the horses on the truck. Okay. Have a good night. God bless you.
Great. Thank you. God bless you. And one thing I know, we have 3 blue horses will be on the track in Nevis. And you know they say, if you see one horse, so that come last. So that's why we're running 3. Ladies and gentlemen, the band has struck up. You know when the band strikes up at a stroke of 10, that means we have to go. The technicians here don't waste no time. They strike up the band. The discussion this evening was lively. I want to thank all the callers, those with whom I agreed and those with whom I disagreed. I hope that at the end of the day, all of us would accept that people get a free opportunity here to make their point. And so I welcome, again, all who have called. I thank all who have called. And that is what makes this show the great show that it is. Thank you. Good night. God bless you. Remember, tomorrow, this show is rebroadcast right here on Von Radio at 1 p.m. That's our show for this evening. And again, I say,